Hello, hello, YouTube. I have for you today a quaint little Waves of Darkness build, and I'm going to preach to you for maybe about 20 minutes about the joys and the usefulness of Waves of Darkness. You don't have to be a wizard or an intelligence build to utilize Waves of Darkness, but that's where it seems to perform at its very best. There are some very tasty synergies with this weapon. I wouldn't call them combos, though there might be a few if you can time it just right. Awkward combos, but combos nonetheless. So for one, Waves of Darkness works very, very well with Zamor Ice Storm, as you saw during the intro. You can just cast it, you can uncharge it, or charge it if you think you have time and poise, and you can just have huge area denial. You can also follow up Waves of Darkness with the Gavel of Haima for great success. In fact, if you know that somebody's going to get hit by the third part of the Waves of Darkness, Gavel of Haima is an excellent thing to hit your foe with. Because the attack ends and the waves continue for a moment, you can usually recover from the Waves of Darkness and cast your Gavel of Haima or your Zamor Ice Storm to hit somebody immediately after that third wave. If the third wave is going to hit them, you're going to have to eyeball it. It's going to take some feel. Even if you don't hit somebody with the third wave into a Gavel of Haima or into the Zamor Ice Storm, your area denial is still very strong and you're likely going to do pretty big damage. Now, of course, there are some obvious countermeasures. Somebody who's got their head screwed on tight and knows you're doing this, knows you're using the Waves of Darkness, knows you're using Zamor Ice Storm, Gavel of Haima, big area of effect moves, they can just outdistance you. That's always going to be an option for any reasonable player. It's not going to trap everyone, but hopefully you have enough poise and you can trade with Waves of Darkness. It seems to have some armor. I don't know if it's hyper armor or anything as gallant as that, but you can just chunk people. Look at that. That poor guy. He had an okay amount of health. He leveled some vigor. And it took a Waves of Darkness and a crouch poke, and he's gonzo. And I had a lot of fun with this build. I might return to this build. I've lamented in the past about how difficult it's been for me to find a melee wizard build that I like, a melee intelligence build, mostly because the damage feels suboptimal. However, if you abuse an Ash of War, like I am now with Waves of Darkness, it does very, very well. I'm also very much a fan of speed casting. I've been getting into that a little bit, making sure I'm using the Azure Staff and the Radigan Talisman if I don't have the Dex or whatever the build's going to be. So stay tuned. Future videos involving that speed casting and chain casting, and I don't even know the terminology for it properly. I suppose I should elaborate for those of you who are not in the know. The speed at which you cast spells is reliant upon your dexterity stat, and there are items and tools you can use to boost that without actually leveling up your dexterity stat. So the Azure Staff and the Radigan Icon Talisman both buff up your casting speed, and together they act like you have 70 points of dexterity worth of casting speed. Not in dexterity damage or weapon requirement, just casting speed. One of them's 30 and the other gives 40. I don't remember which is which, but together they are a mighty 70. It might be the icon, the talisman is 30 and the staff is 40. That would be my guess. I don't know. You can look it up. So the Azure Glintstone Staff and the Radigan Icon Talisman. But I digress. Those are the talismans or the tools you need to get that fast casting, and the fast casting in particular is not actually the animation speed of the spell. It is, I believe, the startup and the end lag of the spell that is reduced. So if your spell has a wind-up, it lowers that. The actual spell cast itself, not so much. So not all spells will be affected. They will be affected differently depending on the spell and the animation it has. So take something like, oh, I don't know, any of the dragon breath incantations, right? They have a little startup, and that would be faster, but the bulk of the spell is the breath attack, where the breath is going out, whatever element it might be, and it's covering the whole area in front of you. That won't be sped up. And then for like, you know, a glintstone pebble or something like that, the startup where you are, you know, beginning to channel the spell, swishing your arm, that will be sped up. And the end lag, of course, before you can do an action after that will be sped up as well, or decreased in some way. It'll feel faster, but the actual spell itself will be slower. And of course, that's for spell casting. Ashes of War are not effective, so my little glintstone Chris dagger you saw me pull out to shoot his projectile, that wouldn't be affected at all by the casting speed. Now, you are in the know if you, for some reason, weren't in the know about casting speed, which is funny how I take the time to explain that when this isn't the video about casting speed. Now, I do have it on this character. It was a part of the build. I am wearing the talisman, and I am using the fast casting staff so that I can get out Zamor Ice Storm, which has considerable startup, and Gavel of Haima that has a bit of startup, and get those out faster. And I can also do pseudo combos with other spells if I so wish. And that is something that's actually going to come up here very soon at the very end of this invasion, so keep your eyes plastered on screen. I'll try to point it out to you when it becomes relevant. But I had a lot of fun as this build. I'm usually worried whenever I use a colossal sword. I'm bad with them. That's why I worry when I use a colossal sword. I'm even worse with the other colossal weapons. Colossal swords make slightly more sense to me. I am bad at the timing. I want to get better, and I just have not put in the time or the practice. Therefore, I am bad. That's how things are. But look at this. Kablamza, he is gone, and you get that third tasty wave on Waves of Darkness that can let you disengage, heal up, reset, and teach somebody what for. I don't know what this fella thought they were doing. I was not anywhere close enough, and that Deathblight's not going to last long enough to ward me off. No, sir. But check out Slicer, carrying Greatsword, Roll Catch, he is gone. And I believe that is very possible because of the casting speed. I don't know if that lines up as well if you have low casting speed. So, something to be aware of. Casting speed is a thing. Now, not all builds need it. In fact, if you're only using spells occasionally, or you're using them to ambush somebody, casting speed is not the end of the world. But if you want to be interweaving spells into your kit, you might want to think about the casting speed. What can you do about it? It sucks to lose a talisman slot, and it sucks to use a staff that eats up more mana for the casting speed, but at the same time, the casting speed's so nice. Oh, that was a problem I had throughout these bits of footage I have. Casting Waves of Darkness when I thought I had the Chris out for some reason kept happening to me. I don't know if it was dropping inputs or if I'm just bad. We'll rely on the I'm just bad answer. And the poor guy goes for a parry, and I don't believe you can parry Carrion Piercer. I think you can parry Carrion Slicer. It's small enough, but Carrion Piercer, no way, no how. But you can do lots of things. Somebody's taking time for an animation. They're about to wake up. Use the startup on Waves of Darkness. Cast some more Ice Storm. The host dies and you barely look at the guy. He's already gone. He's already dead. Oh, I like the Zamor Ice Storm. I didn't think I would. I usually, when I think of Zamor Ice Storm, I think of the version of the Zamor Ice Storm that's on the Zamor Curved Greatsword. And the Zamor Curved Greatsword kind of has a bad light attack combo. It feels a little slower. The weapon has short reach. I don't know if it's actually slower, it just feels like it. It looks more telegraphed, at least, even if it's the same speed. I don't think it is, though. But its Ash of War is good, but it's Dex weapon. But the Zamor Ice Storm is an intelligence spell, so naturally you can use it on a wizard, and I like it as a get around the corner, get off of me tool. I really like it for that. I might start putting it on more of my wizards for that very reason. I've been really enjoying it. It feels nice when you're playing a Faith build and you have access to things like Black Flame Tornado, because you have a get off of me button, you can scare people away and do big damage, throw people in the air, it makes them scatter, it gets them off your immediate person, which can be very nice. When you're playing a strength build, you could also use Black Flame Tornado, but you can also use Stormhawk Axe. You know, you have a little area of effect, does big damage, get people off of you. If you're a wizard, guess what? Zamor Ice Storm. It's worth the spell slot, and you're gonna see why. I'm able to skirmish with these fellows, get behind them, surprise them a little bit. I don't capitalize on the damage as well as my surprise attack warranted, unfortunately, but I digress. I'm able to hop off, get Zamor Ice Storm charging. He's able to plunk me, but the spell still goes off, and he's gone. And if the spell didn't kill him, the Waves of Darkness would have. And the last wave even hits his friend up there, and that is one of the wonders of the Zamor Ice Storm. So, even if I don't always use the Waves of Darkness for these kills, Zamor Ice Storm was wonderful. I wanted to utilize Gavel of Haima more. The Zamor Ice Storm felt a little more natural, and maybe a little less skillful, and so it fit my style. I do want to play this kit again, and I think I want to focus more on trying to hit people with the third wave of the Waves of Darkness, and then chain that hit into the Gavel of Haima. That sounds very nice. And then I need to figure out what spells work very well after the Gavel of Haima. I would love to keep it going. It may not be feasible to do that, but I digress. Another neat thing that this kit gets, and a kit that anyone that has good int and not necessarily high mana can make use of, is the Glintstone Chris. It's very lightweight. It does have a little bit of a critical multiplier, not as high as, you know, the designated critical hit daggers, but it's still there, so you can have that to switch to. And of course it comes with that Glintstone Dart, which might as well replace your Comet. I mean, it comes out fast, you can charge it, you have a follow-up hit if you think you can do something with that. I really like it. I like it a lot as an alternative to using any sort of Glintstone Comet or Comet Shard or anything like that. The only thing is that when I was making this build, I was playing with the Great Glintstone Pebble. I don't know what it's called. I don't think it's the Comets, I don't think it's the Shards, but I think it's the largest pebble. You can't charge it. I remember what the icon looks like when you compare it to the others, but you can't charge it, but it comes out fast and it hits reasonably hard. That one's starting to grow on me. I like the biggest pebble, turns out. And it almost makes me want to play with the other spells. It seems that those spells do well when used sparingly. When somebody's not looking at you, when somebody's, you know, focusing on something else, when somebody's stuck in some sort of animation. That's when those spells work well. They come out fairly quick. They should be used as a little bit of a punish, a little bit of a chip. Spell spamming won't net you very much, unfortunately. I included this invasion, and I'm going to warn you now, this is the long invasion. This is the big one. And that's because I'm proud of this one. It may not make the best content, and I hope you'll forgive my sorry soul. But I had a blast during this invasion, especially in retrospect. During it, it was like High-octane, you know, just trying to find a way to defeat these three people who are very aggressive. The host, I did not know at the time, was Taunter's Tongued. I should have realized that they were suspiciously high level for this zone, and I got a lot of activity in this zone. I got a good amount of footage of it. Is it all in this video? No, but I included this one. I think my intro was here too, so yeah, I had a lot of activity here in the deep root depths for some largely unexplained reason. And I had a fun time using this myriad of spells and trying to defeat the insurmountable odds. A three-man team that is hot on your heels, even if they're pretty bad at the game, can blender you in an instant. They have the damage, they have the means, and the host isn't too shabby. The host isn't too shabby at all. In fact, of course, because this is a long invasion, you can put two and two together and realize, you can intuit that they're going to live for some time. And of course, they're using that Dirty Claw combo. But we have Waves of Darkness here. And Waves of Darkness and Zamor Ice Storm is fantastic. Look at how much damage it did to that fellow. And I think he has an anti-magic buff on. And it still did that much damage. I don't know which anti-magic buff he had on. It could have been the liver. I don't remember it. I'm not going to run back the footage. But still, even with some magic resistance of some variety, they were able to be taken down in such a glorious manner. I rather enjoyed it. I really did. I enjoyed killing people. Did you hear that, dear viewer? I am psychotic, apparently. But you have a lot of options. You can chip people, you can slam them to the ground, you have area denial. I liked the area denial wizard. They feel a little better than the war crimes wizard. But don't worry, we have the war crimes as well. We have our options. And I just decided to take the hit there. It probably wasn't the best option, but my goodness, is it hard. So you need to learn the map. I need to learn the map better too. But I mean this, if you're ever going to invade, you need to think about where the enemies are. And as soon as you show up to an invasion, think of places you can run to. The Deep Root Depths doesn't have very menacing enemies. The Den of Basilisks is okay. The Rune Bear under the waterfall is alright. This route in particular, though, there's a lot of dudes on the way to it. There is an archer at the top of this particular route who is giving me cover. You should run back the footage. I'll tell you to do it. I'm not going to do it. But the host, he got up his great bow. He pulled it out. He got out his great bow, and he was going to shoot me with it. And I had support from the great bow Mausoleum Headless Knight at the top of the hill, and he was able to give me the cover I needed. And here we have the Glintstone Chris. Oh, that's some tasty damage. Now, it's not optimal. If I was using the Shard of Alexander instead of the Graven Mass Talisman, that would be hitting a bit harder, but it's still a nice little tool to have on the quick. and I liked that it was basically an extra and free spell slot. There I am, using Waves of Darkness at the wrong time again. It happens to me. I don't know why. It's something about Waves of Darkness where I use the Ash of War at a stupid time, and it usually happens when I'm swapping between it and the Glintstone Chris. It just happens. But hey, we're able to get some chip. This guy's running, and he is running out of allies. Sure enough, we've taken care of one. I don't know where the other one is, though I think he's on his way out. And if you see that little white mist that he just used, that was him turning off the Taunter's Tongue, I believe. I think we already got the prompt for the other invader showing up. I think he's actually dealing with the other phantom presently. Yeah, there it is. There's the damage pop-up splatter on my screen. But yeah, it was this long drawn-out fight where I'm trying to find my in. I'm not great with the Colossal Sword. This person's not too great with the Colossal Sword either. But they wanted to hit me with them pots. They're obviously a dex build, given their claws and their affinity for lightning. But it's just... I can't imagine having a 3-man squad with Taunter's Tongue. You lose your allies one by one, and then, of course, a co-invader shows up. Thankfully, some people are smart and they turn off the Taunter's Tongue as soon as the invader shows up, so they don't have a chance in high heaven of turning the tables around. It's just like, where's the sport in a 3v1, right? I understand I have the map working with me, right? But you're not here to play the map, and you're honestly and sincerely overleveled for the map. I'm not upset at this individual. I'm just disappointed, because they're obviously not a terrible player. They should rely on their own merits a little, you know? Maybe they're not confident. Maybe they're just... I don't know. I guess I just need to accept at some point that there are people in this world who have no honor. And I guess I'm the guy playing a wizard, so, like, who's the pot calling the kettle black at the end of the day? But hey, I don't have a hey, actually. I apologize for saying hey. I'm using Star Shower, I'm that guy, but this person's running, they're regenning, they're at the end of their rope, they're trying to find a way in. I decided to switch to the Katars. I know they're a good chase tool. I don't have much practice with them, so I'm awful at timing it. And I run out of stamina at this upcoming moment, which feels bad. Because, of course, if you hit somebody with a Storm Stomp, there's a lot of moves you can chain into it for when you really need a hit. So what do? I Storm Stomp, and I ran out of stamina, so the heavy came late, and they're able to dodge it. They may have been a little late, and it wasn't too bad. It was like 120 or less MS, so still playable if a little agitating. But there we have the blue show up, and it's like, oh my goodness, we fought this guy, we've turned it into from a 3v1 into a 2v1 their way, and then it turns into 2 1-on-1s, and then it turned into a 2v1 in our favor, and now it's back to a 2v2, and I'm out of resources, just about, trying to find our way in so that we can kill these fellows. And it's just like we're just clawing and biting and scraping and trying to carve out some sort of victory here. And I don't hit that guy. They kill my red. The nice thing about being a red, though, and I don't think the host gets this liberty, is that if another red dies, I still get flasks. I don't believe the host gets healing flasks if his friendly phantoms die. So that is one boon I have that I didn't realize I had until recently. So always keep that in your mind. If you're co-oping and the other guy dies, at least you get some flasks, though it sucks losing that teammate. It really changes the dynamic of the fight. There we go. Oh, I love that charged attack. I wish I could have landed the piercer. That would have been so cool. Oh, it would have been so neato. And here we have the host wanting to vortex me. You can tell they're angry when they pull out the paired great spears. You can tell they're just absolutely upset. But we're winding down the video now, and I appreciate you putting up with my silly live narration and lack of philosophical points. I glanced at one briefly. I did not linger, but still. And at the end of the day, this is, without a doubt, a Waves of Darkness video. Waves of Darkness reigns supreme. It's a wonderful tool. You could use it on dex builds. You can use it on int builds. You can use it on strength builds. All of the builds. And the host dies. And we win. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had a good one. And you better enjoy the rest of your day now. And I mean it. I'll know if you don't. I really will.